All right, today we're diving into a country that's pretty much impossible to grasp without thinking in superlatives, India. We're talking a nation defined by its absolutely staggering scale, the biggest, the oldest, the most diverse. So let's try and make sense of it all. Okay, let's just start with the numbers, because they are mind-boggling. As of 2023, India's population officially blew past 1.4 billion people. That makes it the most populous country on Earth. Think about that for a second. More than 1 out of every 6 people on this planet now lives in India.
And, this isn't just a story about how many people there are, it's about political scale. Ever since it became independent back in 1947, India has been the world's largest democracy. That's a colossal, multi-party system trying to govern this incredibly diverse electorate. It's a huge undertaking. And then there's the economy. We're talking about a global powerhouse. When you measure it by something called purchasing power parity, which basically adjusts for local prices to give you a clearer picture, India's economy is worth around $15 trillion. That puts it at number 3, the third largest in the entire world.
But to really understand the India of today, its democracy, its economy, all of it, we have to rewind the clock. I mean, way back. The foundations of this modern giant were laid thousands and thousands of years ago. The depth of history here is just incredible. I mean, look at this timeline. It all starts over 55,000 years ago with the first modern humans. Then you have one of the world's first great urban cultures in the Indus Valley. After that comes the Vedic period, which gave us Sanskrit and the philosophical seeds of Hinduism. Then new ways of thinking like Buddhism and Jainism popped up, and eventually we get to these great classical empires, the Mauryas and the Guptas, which were absolute golden ages for science, art, and philosophy.
Now, it was also during this ancient period that a really complex and, let's be honest, controversial social structure emerged, the caste system. It started way back in the Vedic era and created this hierarchy of hereditary groups that would go on to shape society on the subcontinent for centuries, and its legacy is still felt today. Okay, so that ancient foundation then leads us into the medieval period. And India's story isn't about one single culture, not at all. It's more like a giant, intricate tapestry, woven together from the threads of all these different empires, religions, and ideas that came and went.
You can really see this layering of influence over the centuries. In the 13th century, you have the Delhi Sultanate, established by Muslim armies. Then comes the truly magnificent Mughal Empire, which united a huge part of the subcontinent and led to this incredible flourishing of art and architecture. Then, fast forward to the 17th century, and European traders start setting up shop on the coasts, which eventually leads to the dominance of the British East India Company, and finally, direct rule by the British Crown in 1858.
And here's the really important thing to get. These empires didn't just conquer, they blended. The interactions between, say, Hindu and Muslim traditions created this totally unique, syncretic culture, especially in northern India. You can see it in everything, language, music, and especially in the architecture.
So, all this complex history of ancient civilizations and layered empires, it all sets the stage for one of the most defining moments of the entire 20th century, the struggle for independence and the birth of modern India.
As British rule was coming to an end in 1947, this was the monumental and ultimately tragic question that everyone had to answer. How on earth do you draw lines through a land with such a deeply interwoven history, with so many different communities living side by side?
Well, the solution they came up with was partition. The British Indian Empire was carved up, mostly along religious lines, into 2 new independent countries, the Hindu-majority secular state of India and the Muslim-majority Islamic Republic of Pakistan.
But this division on paper, it came at an almost unimaginable human cost. It triggered one of the largest and most violent mass migrations in all of human history. Millions of Hindus and Sikhs fled to India, millions of Muslims fled to Pakistan, and the process was accompanied by just widespread violence and a terrible, terrible loss of life.
And yet, out of this really traumatic birth, the modern Republic of India was officially born. In 1950, it adopted a constitution that really cemented its identity as a secular, federal, and democratic republic. And that document laid the groundwork for the nation that we see today.
Okay, so let's fast forward to the present. The story since independence has been this incredible transformation, really. It's marked by these absolutely stunning triumphs, but also by some very persistent, deeply rooted challenges.
I mean, just look at this chart. It captures the sheer scale of India's economic journey.
Back in 1951, the average income per person was just $64 a year. 64! By 2024, that figure had skyrocketed to over $2,600. It's just a dramatic, incredible leap for the nation.
And the engine behind all that growth has been a total transformation of the economy. India went from being a mostly agrarian society to a modern one. Today, the services sector, we're talking IT, finance, that kind of stuff, it drives more than half of the entire economy, followed by industry.
But, and this is a huge but, behind these really impressive headline numbers lies a fundamental contradiction. It's a paradox of wealth and poverty that really defines India today.
So on the one hand, like we saw, India is an absolute economic giant, the world's third largest economy by that purchasing power metric.
But on the other hand, when you take all that national wealth and divide it by its massive population, the picture changes completely. In terms of nominal income per person, just a simple average, India ranks way, way lower, at 136th in the world. And that just highlights this vast gap between the nation's overall economic power and the prosperity of the average person.
So the big takeaway here is this. Alongside its spectacular rise as a global power, India is still grappling with these profound challenges. We're talking about persistent poverty and growing inequality at home, severe air pollution in its big cities, and even unresolved territorial disputes with its neighbors.
And all of this brings us to our final question as we try to make sense of this nation of just immense scale and contradiction.
You know, when you think about it, its ancient roots, its massive, chaotic, vibrant democracy, its huge economic power, and the profound challenges it still faces, the question isn't just what the future holds for India. It's how the journey of 1/6 of all humanity is going to shape the future for all of us. Its path is, without a doubt, one of the defining stories of our time.